Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Stock Market Today for Thursday, April 24th. It's Alissa Coram here, and another day of stellar gains for the major indexes. And today, we even got a really bullish close, so we like seeing that. And joining me now to discuss the action in today's session and some after-hours earnings movers, we'll get to that as well, is my colleague, Ken Shreve. Ken, good to see you.
Good to see you too, Ali. Yeah, I mean, we were kind of hoping we'd get a close above the 21-day line for the Nasdaq composite. It ended up being a lot more than that. So looking forward to talking about that. Lots of breakouts today too. So that's also encouraging. Take a look at Penumbra, PEN, which reported earnings. Also want to take a look at CrowdStrike, CRWD, in the security software group. And finally, Take-Two Interactive. It has a few blemishes, but a good, strong technical move today.
Yeah, we'll definitely discuss. And Google parent Alphabet earnings out after the close. We will check in on that as well. Well, Ken, from what I'm hearing, it sounds like a shift in tone in the market, seeing continued encouraging signs after Tuesday's follow-through day. The Nasdaq up 2.7% on the day, the S&P 500 up 2%. Meanwhile, the Dow up 1.2% and the Russell 2000 with a gain of about 2% headed into the final stretch of the day. Clearly, the Nasdaq took the lead here, and you said it, Ken. We were looking for that close above the 21-day line. The green line there, that's a moving average that we as tactical active investors like to use for your shorter term trend. First close above that in a while, and it does seem like we did get above what we've been calling sort of this brick wall of resistance, where you had that high from the 9th of April closing, or the high there was around 17,200, and we closed today right around that level, but definitely some progress clearing yesterday's high with some ease.
Yeah, I think even if we were only up 0.6%, 0.7%, something like that, if we had just closed above the 21-day line, even by a little bit, I think we would have viewed that as constructive, especially after yesterday's performance, where we saw some early gains fade and a close below the 21-day line. So the percentage gains were strong yesterday after the follow-through day Tuesday, but today certainly exceeded expectations. Now, there wasn't much volume in the market today. About 15%, 20% lighter than what we saw yesterday. Not the end of the world, because we're really, we're really paying attention to volume on the follow-through day. And we got higher volume on Tuesday. So, the fact that we closed decisively above yesterday's high, I think, is bullish, and it certainly raises the likelihood that we could run up to the 50-day moving average here, and we'll see if that's going to be a resistance level or not. But we definitely want to continue to see more signs of accumulation in the indexes. We didn't see it today just because volume was very, very light. We got a nice big percentage gain. So, the more higher volume gains and lower volume declines we see from here, I think it just bodes well for the uptrend.
Absolutely. And we want to stay above this 21-day line. So even if there is a bit of a digestion of recent gains, because just to put things in context here, the Nasdaq is up about 5.4% for the week at this point, with another trading day to go. So even if we do get some sort of digestion here, now that we're above the 21-day, we want to stay above that level. So let's see if we could do that with this big earnings week coming up, and with potentially some more trade war related headlines, one could imagine.
Yeah, we were very lightly invested, as was Swing Trader headed into this week, and today, we increased exposure quite a bit Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, but we basically went from 10% invested up to about 40% invested. So the market, like I usually say, does a pretty good job of serving up stocks to buy. And while yesterday was a little bit light, I mentioned in last night's big picture column that don't give up, because it can take several days for stocks to start breaking out, and we could still be in the early stages of that. So still a lot of setups there that have not broken out yet. So encouraged by the action for sure.
Yes, definitely a number of encouraging signs out there. Let's check in on the S&P 500. We also closed above the 21-day line here. the high from Wednesday, and we are approaching 5,500. It seems like that would be the next key level to get above. Is that too much to ask for in Friday's session? In the context of the strong gains that we've seen the last couple of days, who knows? But that's definitely, if the bulls can keep making a charge here, that would be the next level to watch.
Yeah, very similar setup to the Nasdaq composite here. Again, just a close above, just a barely above the 21-day line today would have been a positive. But just like the Nasdaq, we took out yesterday's high. Now there's a round number for the S&P 500 that we're going to be dealing with here at 5,500. You can see that beautiful red line that you draw there. The index came down to 5,500 a couple of times, found support, and then it really broke sharply below that. So. But the fact that the S&P 500 closed above yesterday's high, I think it raises the possibility again that 5,500 may not be a tough nut to crack, and maybe this will open the doors to a run to the 50-day moving average.
Yeah. Okay, Ken. Quick thoughts on blue chips and small caps. Here's a look at the Dow.
Yeah, I think your leading indexes at this point are the Nasdaq and the S&P 500. Strong showing for the Dow today. I think it did pretty well considering IBM at least was down sharply early in the session, and yeah, it was down 6.6% today on earnings. So the Dow is not the leading index at this point, but you can see you're trying to it closed just above that 40,000 level, so that was an accomplishment in and of itself today. So not the leading index at this point, but a good day for blue chips as well.
Mm-hmm. And the Russell making some progress here. IWM, the ETF tracking that small cap index, closing above the 21-day line here. Looks like next stop would be 200 on the ETF, equating to 2,000 or so on the index itself, and that 50-day line. So we'll see if this beaten down index can continue to improve here as well.
Yeah,
All right.
I was just going to say,
Go
like
ahead.
the Dow, it's lagging when compared to the Nasdaq and the S&P 500. But good day for small caps as well. Nice close above the 21-day line.
Okay, let's check in on stocks of interest in today's session. A shaky start for medical product stock Penumbra, but a strong finish, up 7% on the day, breaking out of a double bottom base. This is the stock that we were watching heading into the earnings report, given the interesting setup here, Ken. And it looks like as of the close, it didn't disappoint. But if you look at the intraday chart here, what a wild morning. It did manage to get back up on its feet. And I think that's thanks a lot to the improving overall market today. Like you said, we would have taken happily a 0.6% gain on the indexes, where, the NASDAQ up 2.7% on the day. This was a strong finish here.
Yes, it was. And, the more technical breakouts you see in the early stages of an uptrend, it does give you confidence that the uptrend could have staying power. So, Penumbra was tough. I was watching IBD Live this morning, and, Carson was talking about it, but it had it reversed lower right at the open. But as the market improved, like you said, it continued to strengthen. We did not add this to leaderboard today, but we'll keep it on the watch list. It's right at the top of the 5% buy zone here. That's that blue shaded area. So it's a classic double bottom breakout. Good base. You're not dealing with a late stage move here. Relative strength line has a blue dot, so very impressive move today. Earnings more than doubled from the year ago quarter. Revenue growth accelerated. We mentioned the earnings were solid, but very interesting technology here dealing with vascular conditions. One of their products blocks the flow of blood to tumors, which is an important process. And then they also do blood clot removal. So very, very high tech goings on at Penumbra. You got big annual earnings estimates you can see for this year and next, and seems like a pretty compelling growth story. It is a high multiple stock, but you can see the growth rates are pretty strong, and Yeah, I just like the look of this stock. It could find its way to the leaderboard model portfolio, but maybe we'll just wait for a low volume pullback closer to that 288.57 pivot. In this environment, buying a stock when it's 1 or 2% above a buy point is okay, but once it starts getting 4 or 5%, feel like you might be chasing a little bit. So we'll keep an eye out. Since we're in the early stages of what looks like a strong rally here, it's possible this could follow through tomorrow, and that's going to be important to watch. A lot of these breakouts today, do they follow through the next day? You typically see that in the early stages of an uptrend as well, but you could see a low volume pullback here closer to 288. So we'll just keep this on the watch list, and nice strong move today.
Absolutely. Okay, next on our list, let's check out CrowdStrike in the security software group, breaking out of a cup with handle base today. Another stock that we've been watching as it's been setting up in recent weeks. Not only did we get a breakout here, also another blue dot, Ken. So seeing these stocks that are breaking out and showing that recent price outperformance versus the S&P 500, definitely something to take note of.
Yeah, still one of the top performers in the security software group. They still have litigation going on with Delta Airlines regarding the outage that was caused between the CrowdStrike and some Microsoft systems. But that looks like it's going to be resolved. This is just another stock that broke out today. This one did find its way into the leaderboard model portfolio. We put it on as a 5% position early in the session, so have a nice early profit on it. Again, another stock that we'd like to see some follow through tomorrow. If it doesn't, it's not the end of the world. But again, lower volume declines, higher volume gains. Just like we want to see that in the indexes, we'll be looking for that type of price action in some of these strong performing stocks today.
Yes, and I also like that it cleared that round number of 400. We know that round numbers are psychological levels for a lot of traders, so just wanted to note that as well here for CrowdStrike.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, let's also take a look at Take-Two Interactive, clearing the 220 level here. Ken, shares up 4.4% on the day, and we did get some notable above average volume here for this stock.
Grand Theft Auto, NBA 2K, WWE 2K. These are some of the big franchises for Take-Two Interactive. And common theme today, Ali, 3 stocks breaking out with volume. So this is encouraging in the early stages of an uptrend. Now with Take-Two Interactive, this is a little more tricky because when you look at recent earnings and revenue,
Yes.
there's not much to work with here.
Right.
It's a very kind of a cyclical business. The release of
Mhm.
games has a lot to do when earnings and revenue really kicks into gear. You do have a really nice estimate for next year. I assume that's going to be because the launch of new games and things like that. So in terms of fundamentals, maybe some questions here, but video game industry is typically pretty cyclical. So maybe you can be a little forgiving with Take-Two Interactive. The most important thing, it's in a good industry group, 10th out of 197. Relative strength line looks good, and again, looks like possibly the start of an early stage move here. So another breakout, very encouraging.
Yes, it is. Okay, let's check in on some stocks with earnings out after the close. The biggie tonight, Google parent Alphabet. And it looks like investors are happy with the results here. Ken, shares up about 3.3% so far. A lot of the Mag 7 have gotten really beaten down over the last couple of months. They've started to turn here, and we're now in the big earnings week and a half here. So Google's report now out. Of course, things can change. Overnight action doesn't necessarily always translate to the following day's regular session, but encouraging to see given its large weighting in the major indexes.
It'll be interesting to listen to the conference call to hear what the company says about demand. But you're right. I mean, next week is going to be really busy with Meta platforms, Amazon, Apple, Microsoft. All of these large cap tech stocks have really been beaten down with the
Mhm.
Nasdaq that recently came in about 25% off its high. So if we can get some decent news from some of these large cap tech stocks like Google, which again is initially a positive response to earnings, but if Meta can give a good quarter and sound pretty good with an outlook. this could be just what the Nasdaq needs here.
Mhm.
So hopefully we'll get a good response by Alphabet tomorrow, up 3.5% right now, but it's going to get real busy with earnings starting next week. So I've been kind of
Sure is.
looking through Meta, and we've got a lot of top-rated growth stocks that are setting up
Mhm.
reporting next week. So I'm going to be finishing that story up when I'm done with the video. But large cap
Great.
tech earnings are going to be in focus in coming days.
Yeah, they will. And just to reiterate, Google, household name, one of the biggest companies out there in stocks. So even if it had a positive reaction tomorrow, the setup here, this isn't really what we like to see with the stock below a declining 50-day, that's below a flat to declining 200-day. But we want to see that repair work. And again, this is more about its influence on the indexes and perhaps the tech sector, what they say about AI spending, and just the overall tone of commentary from the executives, I think will be key for the market.
3 up days in a row for Alphabet, and each day volume picked up a little bit each day. So a little bit of accumulation in the stock. Again, I think it's likely we'll probably see heavy volume tomorrow, but that's the best way a stock can overcome overhead supply. After a sharp pullback, as it tries to rally back, it runs into selling pressure. But if you can get volume and conviction buying, that's often enough to just kind of push it through prior resistance levels. So again, just like the market, we'll be looking for upside volume, and then during declines, just kind of see kind of low volume drift offs
Mhm.
without much signs of institutional selling. So a little bit of accumulation in Alphabet before earnings. We'll see if it can hold these gains and maybe even strengthen more tomorrow.
Yeah. Let's also check in on T-Mobile. It looks like this one's headed the other direction, Ken. The stock down over 5% in reaction to earnings. It had been holding up exceedingly well in recent months, and sort of a good combination of defensive with growth here. But it looks like the reaction so far, a bit of a disappointment.
Yeah, Verizon in this group, not a great earnings report earlier in the week. Actually, not exactly the same industry group, but obviously very similar business. They did not have a good response to earnings. So T-Mobile setting up nicely, but obviously this earnings report caught the market off guard a little bit, down sharply. We'll see how it opens tomorrow.
Exactly. It's all about that following day's regular session action, which,
Hmm.
we looked at Penumbra earlier, and anything can happen after earnings. So, one to keep tabs on there as well. Was there another medical sector name you briefly wanted to check in on?
Gilead Sciences, GILD has
Mhm.
been one of the better performing biotechs, below the 50-day moving average, but a fairly modest, pullback headed into results. This one looks like it's under a little bit of pressure. So, but this is a biotech that I've been following. We'll see. Down 4%.
Okay. Well, we'll leave it there for today, Ken. A great roundup of today's action and notable movers. As always, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
And thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in. That is it from us for today. And as Ken mentioned, earnings season is going to continue to ramp up next week. So make sure you watch the latest installment of Earnings Cheat Sheet with our very own Alexis Garcia and Ed Carson. That'll be dropping tomorrow morning. They'll be going over all of the big earnings reports and what you should expect as an investor. You can check that out on our YouTube channel when it drops tomorrow. And that is it from us. We'll see you in the morning on IBD Live. We'll be welcoming back to the show Joe Fahmy of Zor Capital, friend of the show. And he seems to bring his market mojo with him most times that he joins us, so much so that he has earned the nickname Follow Through Fahmy. Well, we did get our official follow through day earlier this week and a subsequent follow through day. Can we get another on Friday? We'll have to see when Joe Fahmy joins us. So make sure to tune in to IBD Live starting 10 minutes before the opening bell, investors.com/IBD Live for all of those details. We'll see you then. And then Mike Webster and I will see you right back here tomorrow after the close to wrap up the week. See you then.